This is the Almost Timely newsletter for the week of July 2nd, 2023. Content authenticity statement. 95% of this newsletter was generated by me, the human. AI-generated content does appear in the first section in the form of a prompt response and an AI-generated image. What's on my mind this week? Better get good at this AI stuff. A friend was telling me yesterday that her therapist was suggesting she get good at this AI stuff in the context of a discussion about her career. Imagine that, right? Your therapist saying, "Hey, you better get on the AI train." Naturally, my friend, as well as many other folks, then said to me, "Okay, where do I start?" Well, where do you start? There's a ton of different frameworks you can use to plot a journey through AI, but the one that makes the most sense to me for the average person is the Why, What, Now framework. Why, What, How. For the average business, it would be the Trust Insights 5P framework. Since this is in the context of one friend at a personal level, let's use the personal model, and we can tackle the business one another time, or maybe in the Trust Insights newsletter inbox insights. So why, what, how? Why should you care about AI? Why do you care about AI? What is AI, and how do you get started? Let's dig into each one of these topics. And we're going to specifically address generative AI, which is the most accessible and useful form of AI for the average non-technical person. Recall that there are three big categories of AI: prediction, classification, and generation. Generation is what we're going to talk about today. So number one, why should you care about generative AI? Not because it's the cool, shiny object right now, or because your therapist told you so. Not because it helps make businesses more efficient, do stuff better, faster, and cheaper. Not even because it's going to cost thousands, if not millions, of jobs in the big picture. The primary reason you should care about AI is a simple truth across professions and industries. AI is not going to take your job. A person skilled with AI will take the job or jobs of people not skilled with AI. Why specifically should you care? In general, generative AI is about making stuff, either net new stuff or derivatives of existing stuff. If any part of your work, any part of your career, any part of your industry involves making stuff, from writing emails to putting ads together to composing songs to writing investment guides, then getting a handle on what generative AI can and cannot do is critically important. You need to know what parts of your job you'll still need to do, like showing up at meetings, right? And which parts AI can and should do, like writing up meeting notes from all those meetings you showed up to. Here's a simple guideline. If a task is repetitive and it involves creating something like a weekly recap email to your boss, it's a good candidate for AI to either assist with or just outright do. Think about all the tasks you do at work. How many of them fit in this category? This is the first and most important thing to do. If you literally have nothing on your task list that fits in this category, then there might not be as much urgency to adopt AI right now, but it will be something you have to contend with eventually. For example, Microsoft is rolling out its Copilot generative AI integration into Microsoft Office and Windows 11 later this year. This will bring up a plain language prompt in Office that allows you to do things like, say, convert this spreadsheet to a written narrative, or make a slide presentation from this memo, as well as more conventional generative tasks like, help me write this email to the staff telling them that they're all fired. Right? Even relatively straightforward tasks like writing an agenda for a meeting are fair game for AI to help you. Google's Duet is the Copilot equivalent for Google Docs and Gmail, and AI will be in every software package you use for pretty much every job. If you use software in your job, it's going to have AI in it. Right? It's already in tools like Adobe Photoshop, HubSpot CRM, Salesforce, Unity's video game development engine, and so many more. So why AI? Because it's going to be everywhere, and you got to get used to it sooner rather than later. Better to be good at it early. What is generative AI? We understand the importance of why we care about it. Let's talk about what the hell this stuff is. Generative AI comes in two flavors because they're fundamental architectures. These are fancy names, but we'll go with them. Transformers and diffusers. Transformers are found and used mostly in language generation with software called large language models. When you use services like Google Bard or ChatGPT, you're using transformers. Diffusers are found and used mostly in image generation with software called diffusion models. When you use services like DALL-E or Stable Diffusion or Midjourney, you are using diffusers. How these two architectures work is fairly complex, but let's do this as a simplified explanation. We're going to take data and all that stuff and boil it down to pizza. Let's say we want to make pizza, right? If we're using transformers and large language models, the companies that make these models, in this analogy, they go out and eat a whole bunch of pizza, right? They try pizza from all over the world and every variation they can find. They take notes on each pizza as they eat them, and when they're done, and done being sick from overeating, they assemble their notes into a cookbook. That cookbook is the transformer, right? Doesn't contain any actual pizza, but it contains all the knowledge they've gathered about pizza from eating lots of pizza. And when someone asks them now for a pizza, right, they can reference this note, their notes, go through this cookbook, and make a pizza that more or less fits what someone asks for. This includes pizzas they never heard of before, because these software models are smart enough to understand if someone wants a gluten-free mushroom and popcorn pizza, they can still assemble it based on the logic of past pizzas they've tried. That's how transformers work. They ingest a huge amount of text and then try to guess what words they should spit out based on the instructions we give and the text they've seen in the past. Now, if we're using the diffusers model for image generation, the companies that make these models still go out and eat a bunch of pizza, right? But now when someone asks for a new pizza, instead of trying to guess, what the next ingredient is, what they do is they throw the dough down and they throw pretty much every ingredient on it, right? And then they look at it and they compare it to the recipe, what the customers asked for, and go, no, let's take that off, let's take this off. The customer didn't ask for pepperoni, the customer didn't ask for anchovies. Oh, look, wait, did the customer ask for corn? All right, put corn on, right? They add stuff, they remove stuff, they change ingredients, change amounts, until they arrive at a pizza that most closely resembles the pizzas that A, they were trained on, and B, that match the text of what the customer asked for. That's why diffusers work really well with images. They basically throw a whole bunch of pixels into the mix and then slowly refine it, adding and removing pixels until the image looks like what we asked for, like, a dinosaur sipping on a cocktail and reading a newspaper. Both models perform the same fundamental two tasks, comparison and generation, or more simply put, editing and writing or creating. For example, diffusers and images can create net new images based on a prompt, like a dinosaur sipping a cocktail and reading a newspaper. But they can also do tasks like in-painting, where they change part of an image. Imagine handing it an image and saying, let's cut my X out of this image, right? And it will remove your X and then smooth that part over and sort of guess what else should be in that space where your X used to be. Or outpainting, where they extrapolate the rest of an image from a portion you give them. Maybe there's a picture of you and your current partner, sitting on a bench in a park, but the person holding the phone was too close to you. With outpainting, you would say, okay, let's expand the canvas and have the computer guess what the rest of the park looked like. And sometimes it does a really good job with that. Transformers can generate new text like memos, blog posts, as well as answer questions like, where in Prague can I get a really good steak, with a high degree of success. But they can also perform tasks, editing tasks like summarizing large amounts of text, rewriting text, extracting information from text, and classifying text by attributes like sentiment or tone of voice. This is an important point. Generally speaking, AI models are better at tasks that are editing tasks, like in-painting or summarizing text, because they don't need to generate as much data. They don't need to generate as much stuff to get the results that we want. Then creative tasks, like write a brand new blog post or make a brand new image from a prompt. As you evaluate your list of tasks that you'd want to use AI for, think about whether the task is an editing task or a creating task. The machines will do better at the editing tasks, like summarizing meeting notes. Writing an email newsletter every week is a creative task, though I still write this one by hand because I've not had time to fine-tune them all on my exact voice. Summarizing meeting notes from a client is an editing task, so creation versus editing. So now you've kind of got a basic decision tree. Are you working with text or images? And are you doing creation or editing? That will help to narrow down the use cases for what you'd want to use AI for. This leads us to the third question. Where do you get started? Inevitably, the first question people ask once they wrap their heads around AI is which tools they should be using. That's always the thing. Which tools? What's the best tool for this? What 3 or 4 or 5 tools? And I always want to slap somebody, right? Imagine once you learn the existence of and the utility of cooking, and imagine immediately starting by asking which appliances should you be using, right? To some degree that makes sense, but it makes more sense to learn the broad types of cooking, like broiling and frying and stuff, and understand the ingredients, and then the tools, and then the recipes, right? If you just say, oh, cooking's important, and you run out to buy a blender with no idea what you're going to make, you're going to get some really unpleasant results if you then realize all you have in the fridge is chicken wings, right? Tools come last after you understand why you're using stuff, what it does, what it's good at, what it's not good at, and then we can talk about how to use it and what tools go with it. By spending time cataloging the tasks you do as image-based or text-based, and then whether you're doing editing or creating tasks, you are setting the groundwork for being successful with AI. There are hundreds of new AI vendors popping up every week, and for the most part, they don't want to hear this, but they all do pretty much more or less the same things, right? Everyone's working with the same basic foundational models to start with, and some are doing some fine-tuning to make them a little different, but they're still basically the same models, right? So everyone's got the same foundations of models, or they're just using someone else's model, right? There's so many companies that are just using, OpenAI's GPT-4 model behind the scenes. Some services have a better UI than others, some have better customer support than others, but they're either using transformers or diffusers, right? If they're offering generative AI. That means, at least early on, right now in your AI journey, when you're just getting started, you can ignore the vendors and the hype while you get your feet wet, right? They're all going to say, oh, our tool's the best. You're missing out if you're not using our tool. You're not missing out. You're not missing out on anything critical while you master the basics. And where do you master the basics? Start with free foundational tools. The two that I recommend for just getting started. For transformers and large language models, the best place to start, as long as you're not working with sensitive or confidential information, is OpenAI's ChatGPT. Right? That's the best place to start right now. For image generation, the best place to start is Microsoft Bing's Image Creator, which is powered by OpenAI's DALL-E 2 on the back end, but Bing's Image Creator works really well. Both of these tools have free versions. Bing's is totally free with your Microsoft account. OpenAI, there's a free version of ChatGPT, and then there's a paid version. Start with the free one. These two tools have the lowest barrier to entry, the lowest cost, and have some of the best basic capabilities. Once you're successful with these tools, once you learn how to do stuff like prompt engineering things, then you can start looking at more specialized tools and vendors and platforms and things like that. But get good at the basics first. And the first skill you'll need to learn is prompt engineering, which is essentially just programming these software tools, but using plain language, right? Plain language, whatever language you work in. For transformers and large language models, the general template you want to use for a prompt goes in 4 parts: role, task, background, action. There is a cheat sheet. If you go to trustinsights.ai/prompt sheet, it's a 1-page PDF that will explain this in detail as to why you want to use this structure. For example, if I wanted ChatGPT to write a memo telling staff not to microwave fish in the break room microwave, I might prompt it like this. You are an executive assistant. You know how to communicate diplomatically, handle difficult situations, manage confrontations, set expectations. That's the role, right? Your first task is to write a memo asking staff not to microwave fish in the break room microwave, right? That is the task portion. Next is the background. Some background information. Fish is very difficult to clean the smell of. Fish dishes can be heated, using the induction plate in the break room. Many staff do not enjoy the smell of fish, and it can cling to other foods. Right? There's your background info, and now the action. Write the memo in a professional tone of voice. You put this into ChatGPT, and the results come out like this, right? And you inspect these results, and you either tweak the prompt or just polish the results by hand. I hope this memo finds you well. I want to bring to your attention a matter that has been causing some discomfort for a number of our colleagues. The frequent microwaving of fish in the break room has been leading to lingering odors that can be quite unpleasant for those who do not appreciate the scent, and so on and so forth, right? That's getting started with prompt engineering for transformers, for language. For diffusers and image generation, prompts look and sound a lot more stilted, weird language, because of the way diffusers work, because of the way diffusers were trained. They almost read similar to how captions read on famous artworks. When you go to the museum, there's a little tag under the painting that says, The Abduction of Europa by Rembrandt from 1632. It's a 7-inch wide painting that's oil on single oak panel, right? That's what you'll see on those little tags. That's pretty much the syntax that works pretty well for image creation software, right? If you were to write a prompt for a system like the Bing Image Creator, you might write something that sounds like this: a red-headed woman riding across a river on a white horse while local villagers look on in shock from the riverbank. Oil painting, Renaissance in the style of Rembrandt, highly detailed, finely details, oil on oak panel. And here's what the Bing Image Creator made, right? That's pretty much that. And it sure does look like the style of Rembrandt. So in general, for image generation prompts, you write the subject of the prompt first with as much detail as you can manage, followed by the format, oil, pastel, photograph, then the style with as many relevant modifiers like oil on oak panel, canvas, bright pastels, bold colors, 35 millimeter film, and then additional modifiers like highly detailed, finely detailed, 8K, all, etc. Diffusers were basically trained on captions of images, including those of artwork, so it's no surprise that prompts formatted similar to how actual artworks are described tend to work pretty well in these systems. So that's how you write prompts for text and for images. Your next step is to take your task list of highly repetitive tasks and start writing prompts to see how to accomplish those tasks with generative AI. Now, obviously, there's quite a bit more that we could cover, and absolutely absurd amounts of detail we could go into about the technologies and use cases, dangers and implications, positional encodings, embeddings, and all the technobabble, many of which are actually in my talk on generative AI, which is linked in the newsletter if you want to go watch it. It's about 30 minutes long. But this is a good starting point, a good way to get going if you're just starting out, right? So figure out why you would use AI, figure out the things you would use AI for, what kinds of tasks, and then start with the free tools, start writing prompts, and see how it goes. One commercial plug: if you're really interested in talking shop about AI, come hang out with me in Cleveland at the Marketing AI Conference, MACON, July 26th and 27th, Cleveland, Ohio. Come to Cleveland. I was going to say something about Cleveland, but they've got like a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame museum there, but it's really about the conference. Come to Cleveland. There's a discount code TRUST150 to save $150 on the ticket price. All right, what else we got going on this week? As of the day that you're watching this newsletter, Universal Analytics is off. Right? No more Universal Analytics data in Google Analytics. It is now Google Analytics all the time. So take the course. Go to trustinsights.ai/GA4 course if you want to get skilled up on the new tool, because you have to use it now. And I believe at the beginning of the newsletter this week, there's a free YouTube video on how to rearrange the menus of Google Analytics so that they look more like Universal Analytics, particularly for folks who are just getting started with the new tool. But I do recommend the piece. I wrote a piece this week about why you need a generative AI prompt library. So go check that out. It's some more details about why prompt libraries are important. Let's see, in jobs this week: digital measurement solutions team at Seer Interactive, senior analyst at Condé Nast, senior digital analyst at Save the Children, senior manager of digital analytics at Harnum, senior web application developer at Next After, strategy and analytics consulting manager at Seer Interactive, and web analyst at Vicos. I don't know how to pronounce that, but lots and lots of jobs happening there. Quick commercial plug: I'm doing a lot of talks on AI, generative AI, large language models and stuff. If you want to bring that to your company for custom training for your company, let me know. There's a link in the newsletter to do that. What else is in the news? TikTok has killed off its Be Real clone because Be Real's dying on its own, right? Which is not surprising. Meta is targeting mid-July for its Twitter Challenger app. I think it's called Project 92 or something like that. I'm so split on this because on the one hand, Facebook/Meta has a terrible track record for things like privacy and such, but Twitter has been a dumpster fire. It's July 1 as I'm recording this, and Twitter's not been working today because old Elon throttled how many posts you're allowed to view because of excessive scraping, according to his Twitter post. Yeah, well, there wouldn't be excessive scraping if you hadn't shut off the free API, Elon. Anyway, so Meta, they're rolling out a text-based messaging / social media app supposedly sometime mid-July. And it's unclear whether it's going to be part of Instagram or separate from Instagram. But in a recent interview with Lex Fridman, Mark Zuckerberg said it's going to be based on the Instagram social graph. So very interesting to see how that turns out. We're all going to run over and try it, I'm sure, and stuff like that. Be very interesting. In other news, Google says word count for SEO and Google rankings is not a thing. It doesn't matter how long your content is. It just matters whether it's useful or not and people like it. Midjourney releases version 5.2, which has been a huge leap forward in terms of what it can generate. There's a fun data science project if you want to learn how to do Rotten Tomatoes movie rating predictions. Some stuff from IBM about 6 strategic use cases for AI ops, for managing AI ops. And in Dealer's Choice, we're going to have a whole separate piece of content on this. The campaign that I was working on for 6 months, the Save Warrior Nun campaign about the TV show on Netflix, Warrior Nun, the campaign succeeded. The showrunner, Simon Barry, on June 28th announced that the show has been saved, has been resurrected, and boy, that was real interesting how that happened. So I'm working on writing up the portions of the campaign that I helped with, specifically around data and analytics and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, I'm stunned that this thing actually worked, that that the fans get the show back, and that the fans' voices were heard. It's pretty cool. Other stuff in random stuff, some stats on Common Crawl. And we talked about this, I think it was this past week, about what the heck Common Crawl even is. I believe, yes, it was in the Trust Insights newsletter about what this thing is. And finally, there was a very interesting piece on USA Facts about how many rape kits are awaiting testing in the U.S. It's over 25,000. The various police departments and stuff around the country are substantially lagging, for the most part, in processing those in a timely fashion. The 2 states that are doing a good job, Vermont has processed 100% of kits received in 30 days or less, and Massachusetts is 96%. So those 2 states definitely doing a good job doing their jobs. Everyone else, not so much. But it's really important. It's a good article. It's worth sharing. Upcoming events, Maycon, as I mentioned, use discount code TRUST150. I have Content Jam in Chicago in September, then ISBM's B2B Summit, Content Marketing World, Marketing Analytics and Data Science, both of those are in DC, and then Marketing Props B2B Forum in October. And I just I'm booking Social Media Marketing World for February of 2024. So I'll be out in San Diego, and visiting San Diego in February, particularly when you live in Boston, is generally a nice thing. So if you're going to be at any of these events, pop by, say hi. Love to hear what's going on. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and however you consume the newsletter. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you next time. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.